Be sure to watch my TED Talk on londonreal.tv. In London, technology is the Silicon Roundabout. Introducing a new talk show dedicated to the people of the London technology startup scene. Silicon Real. Each week, interviewing entrepreneurs, venture capitalists, financial technology, accelerators, and incubators in an exciting three-person format. Learn about the people behind the innovation. Locally filmed, locally sourced. Silicon Real. It's about the people. This is Silicon Real, the weekly talk show dedicated to the people of the London technology startup scene. I'm Brian Rose. I also host London Real. It's a similar show, except it's not just tech. We get like writers, activists, politicians, rock stars, hip-hop artists, celebrity astrophysicists. I'm trying to impress James here.
Spoken word
artists. I mean, it gets pretty crazy over there. So if you want to check that out, that's londonreal.tv. And you can look at all those episodes. You can actually look by category. You can search by Bitcoin, by mixed martial arts, by success. Yeah, it's nice, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll be upgrading Silicon Real very soon. So, but today we're here to talk tech. My co-host is none other than Colin Pyle. You were off last week. We had Mr. Ivan Mazura in the house, the CEO of Metria, Russian-born, London-bred dude, and we talked about Bitcoin. I actually kidnapped the guy that runs the Bitcoin ATM on Shoreditch High Street like 3 hours before the show because we had a cancellation, and came in and we talked about Bitcoin. He explained how the Bitcoin ATM works. It's a little creepy. They actually take a picture of you when you go in to like transfer your pounds for Bitcoins, and we talked about Dogecoin, the dark wallet, everything. So
awesome. Yeah. I'm glad he stepped in for that because I don't know too much about Bitcoin. So.
Yeah, and
he's way smarter than I am.
Yeah, Ivan had just written like a 10-page blog about Bitcoins and stuff. He actually has a Bitcoin mining machine in the corner of his bedroom.
He's one of the smartest guys I know. So
he's pretty damn smart.
I'm glad he was here for that one.
Yeah, the smart money's on Ivan. Yeah. So that's all good. It's actually been watched like 1,500 times, that live episode. So check that out on our YouTube channel. How's the coffee business?
Coffee is good. A couple new blends coming up, and doing some fundraising right now. So doing another round, and every entrepreneur, you got to go through it, and it's really hard because it's like two jobs because you can't take your eye off the ball running the business, but yet you can't stop going out and looking for money. So it's tiring.
That's why you get paid the big bucks with the startups.
There you go.
Because you're juggling. So, all right, awesome. Good to have you back.
Yeah.
Our guest today is Mr. James Layfield, the CEO of Central Working, which provides the ideal environment for growing businesses. You guys have co-working spaces in Bloomsbury, Shoreditch, campus just around the corner, and Whitechapel.
Ish.
Okay, yes. We're going to get to all those details. But you guys are more than just a co-working space. You're more like a club. You get companies in there talking to each other. You don't take equity stakes. It's not specifically tech. It could be fashion, but everything that it could be coffee, and we'll get into that. You guys are also a startup in yourself, and we're one of the UK's top 100 startups in 2013. James, it's so fun to have you here. Welcome to Silicon Real.
Thank you ever so much. Amazing to be here.
This guy's been watching Silicon Real episodes all afternoon.
I've been memorizing them.
Perfect.
I can verbatim quote.
I love it. Nothing's worse when people get here and they're like, so what's this like? But most people are pretty good about knowing what the show is about. But, I was checking your Twitter feed out recently, and you guys are blowing up with this recently launched, the Escalator, which is in Whitechapel. Yeah. You got the guys from Barclays there. You got the guys from Techstars there. We had John Bradford in here a few months ago. He was actually here with Max Kaiser from Russia Today, and it was this kind of crazy show. Big fans of him. What is going on at your Whitechapel office? What is the Escalator? I know what an escalator is, but what is going on over there?
It's magical. Firstly, it's magical. So basically, we were incredibly fortunate. So do you ever go to Whitechapel? The answer is probably no.
Not as often as you
not as often as you need
to. I wouldn't say I go there.
Yeah, you need to go. You need to start going.
It's blowing up over there, though. Yeah. Jesus.
We are leading that charge. So basically, we went down there back in the day in December. And then we found the most beautiful piece of real estate in London, probably. And that sounds like a massive overclaim, but I promise you, if you come and see it, you'll have a little tear in your eye. We found this amazing real estate. Some crazy guy in the 20s decided that he wanted to create the Harrods of East London. So then, weirdly, he went to Selfridges and copied the exact structure of Selfridges. So it's this amazing building with all these beautiful columns, gigantic floor-to-ceiling windows, wooden floor throughout. And he was so basically ambitious to create this project. He rocked up down there, knocked on all the doors of the houses and literally said, right, I'll buy your house, I'll buy your house, I'll buy your house. And in a typical entrepreneur story, someone wouldn't sell their house. But rather than give up, he built around it. So actually, he built this department store with a house in it, with this one little devil who wouldn't sell. Anyway, so he did that. Sadly, the dream did not work out for him. And he went bust, I presume, because it was being derelict for like 20 or 30 years. So we went in there in December, and there was literally rats on the floor, graffiti everywhere. It's literally off the grid. It hasn't got power to it. It's probably London's only zombie-proof building. So when the apocalypse comes, come to Whitechapel. We've got off-the-grid power from generators. We've got a satellite dish bringing the internet. It's pretty amazing. So it's totally off the grid. Anyway, we just saw it and fell in love with it, and decided that it's not all about Silicon Roundabout. It's not all about Old Street. It's about Britain, and it's about finding the right places. So, so we think we found a beautiful home. And so to answer your question, which is what on earth is the Escalator?
Yeah.
The Escalator is a collaboration between Barclays Bank, Techstars, and ourselves to create, I suppose, the ideal place, a bit like our proposition really, that can take a business from a concept to execution. So we've actually not only got Techstars in there, which are pretty much, as John would have told you, the world's leading accelerator. We've also got Microsoft Ventures in there. So it's probably the only place in London where you've got two of the leading, well, full stop, it can be because there are only two of the leading accelerators in the same building. So that brings an incredible amount of momentum and energy with it. Coupled with that, you've got this incredible facility. In the bottom, we've got Foxcroft and Ginger, which is one of our member businesses, uber cool cafe. So you come into this beautiful cafe, you go upstairs, you've got a 140-person event space called the Innovation Loft, where we only sort of officially opened earlier on this week. We already had, I think, 300 or 400 hours worth of content coming through there. If you have an event and you want to put it on somewhere, come and see us. It's free. It's completely free.
Like Campus London, you guys let people come in for free.
Yeah. Basically, the event space completely for free. Use that, and then you've got a really huge central working. By the way, we're not co-working. I loathe co-working.
Please explain.
I can elaborate on my loathing.
Okay.
Shall I? Well, it sounds horrible, but the reason I loathe it is because.
What's the difference for people that listen between central?
In my opinion, the difference between the two things, I suppose, would be we see ourselves as a service-led business, and our service proposition is about helping you to grow your business. That's what we do. So we train our team in this. They help people to do that. And I'll explain a little bit more about that later on because exciting things are happening on that front. And we then design, build, and manufacture all of our own furniture. We then create the spaces, and we spend a lot of attention to detail and a lot of money. I mean, we spent a few £1 million creating the new place out that way. And then we create a really, hopefully, premium product to enable people to grow as fast as possible. That's what we do. And I think, to be honest with you, the reason I'm not such a fan of the word co-working is co-working to me is about lowest cost desk space. So it's just, I want a cheap place to work. I'm willing to put up with sitting next to you to do that. And the benefit of sitting next to you is I might get something happening. And that seems like, in my view, most of the industry that exists, I think there's 70 co-working spaces in London. I think it's probably like 5 that make any money. So it's not really a business if you're not, it's a fun thing to do. It's nice, but it's not a business. And I suppose we've always looked at this as, how do you really help people to grow? You've got to be around to help them to grow, and you've got to be well funded to help them to grow. So we basically have set ourselves up to try and focus on their growth by being really, really good at helping them with that growth. And that, we think, comes from a premium product.
You said quickly that they're not a business, some of these other co-working spaces, and I agree. You see there, and you're trying to look at the revenue model. I mean, you guys don't take equity stakes in the companies, say at Whitechapel. How do you make a business out of it?
So there's a really, if you are able to deliver a really high level of service, and again, if you look at, say, the Twitter, you'll see on our Twitter feed, the things that we do for our members significantly help them with their businesses. And that's all we're focused on. It happens to be in a really beautiful space, and it happens to be that you're sat next to mentioned businesses, but it's because we're actively involved in that process that we make a difference. And so there is a there is a really lovely moment when you start out to when you grow to, let's say, 10 or so people, when that support, that love, that care is invaluable. And so you can rightly place a fair premium on that attention, that love, that care, that support, that effectively will give someone a facility in terms of contact, connections, and physical space that even a major corporate like a Barclays couldn't necessarily afford to give to a team of that size.
Right, they obviously chose you. That's a big statement.
Yeah, it's very, very nice. It's very exciting. I mean, we haven't actually weirdly PR'd that, but yeah, they have. They went around the world, and genuinely they went all over the US and the UK, and they assessed all the potential partners to work with on this project. And I'm really, really proud that we had the secret sauce that they thought was relevant to their work. So we've been really lucky to be involved with them. And this is going to sound sycophantic, so it's not sycophantic, but bear with me on this. I think if you look at an institution like a Barclays, you instantly think, oh my God, what a nightmare. And I think in most cases you're right, but I think what's interesting is these guys have been able to act in an entrepreneurial fashion and move at a pace that I couldn't believe a PLC could move. So we did the deal in December. We were open in February. I mean, that's insane. That was ridiculous. Wow. And that's including creating the brands. We worked with their in-house team to create the brands. The amazing team they've got there. And then physically design the spaces, which we did, physically building out the space, which we did, and creating the whole concept. To do that in 3 months, from concept to execution, is just, I think, is mind-blowing. So I was really excited that they could do that. And so the plan is we're sort of top secretly looking at doing one outside London. We're just trying to find the right site for it now. We've got a hopefully got a site coming up. Potentially it's in Manchester. And then we'll do another Escalator in Manchester. We're also looking into other countries for this concept, because it's such a lovely thought that if, again, you guys have started businesses, you know how bloody hard it can be. As you said, just the fundraising side without any support is an absolute pain. Yeah. And theoretically, someone like a bank can, if they're thinking in the right way, really help with that. So what we're trying to do is work with them to enable them to have the agility of a miniature business. We've got 10 employees. We're a miniature business. They've got 100,000 employees. They're quite large. But give them some agility, give them some visibility, give them some incredible access. And because it feels like a real partnership, it really feels like a partnership, we're able to create some magic. That I just think it surprises me. It surprises me every time I see them and talk to them, because I'm getting access at the highest levels. I sat down with the CEO of Barclays Bank. I mean, why would he bother to do that if they're not taking this seriously? So it heartened me, actually, that they're doing the right thing, I think.
Did you have like a pitch when you went into them? Because Barclays must be thinking, okay, we got Techstars on board. I mean, these are the guys that specialize at incubating. We got that handled. So let's just get, a loft somewhere, blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden your name comes up and they're like, okay, I understand why we need John Bradford and his crew. I don't understand why we need Central Working. Do you pitch them this kind of what you just told us, as in we make things happen?
Well, what's interesting is I think there was 3 or 4 projects running in parallel within the Barclays organisation. And one of the projects was looking at how do you support SME. Another one was looking at how do you incubate technology to help the bank grow. So John Bradford, you're right, nailed that piece. But this other piece, if you're a bank, any bank, you're sat on an insane amount of real estate. And again, this isn't something they're doing, and it's not something we're doing with them. But I think this is where the idea started, which is every single bank in Britain is trying to get rid of their high street presence right now, or has got rid of a load of the assets. But if you're sat on those assets and you've got insanely long leases, wouldn't it be nice, especially in a recession, wouldn't it be lovely if you could repurpose that real estate to add value to your customer base? And I think that's where the starting point was. So they took a journey into how do you repurpose the real estate to, and I think NatWest came to us to talk about it. HSBC have only just started to talk about it with us now, and we're saying, sorry, you're a little bit late. Silicon Valley Bank has talked about it with us. Pretty much most of the major banks have come to us to talk about it. And the reason they've done that, I think, is because 2 things. One is no one wants to do anything for nothing. So these institutions are sat on assets that have to make money. So if you just gift the space to someone and they haven't got a business model that actually makes money, then that's not going to last very long.
So they might give you their retail branches to do something similar.
Right. They won't be doing. That's what I'm saying. But I think that is the project that started the journey to answer your questions of why you guys, because they were looking at a different question. They were looking at the question of how do you do that, and then that for whatever reason has changed as a tactic. I have no idea. It's not for me to comment, and it may not have changed, but I'm not aware that it has continued.
When we look at your day-to-day, hour by hour, what you do you kind of look at the central working space in general, and you're like, all right, we need to get these guys talking with these guys. We got to watch out. These guys are ramping up on 10 employees. They're going to need more space. I mean, are you very active that way?
We, as an organization, yeah, we are. I wish I'd brought it with me. It's so stupid.
We basically massive wall at home with all
exactly. I've just got screens and
with everyone's faces.
Tom Cruise.
Yeah. Kind of,
that dude needs help now. Move it.
Is this Minority Report?
Exactly. It's basically like that,
okay.
But a little bit more low tech. No, we've created this thing which is currently called the Awesome Box, and it goes back to my point. So, my business partner Steve Petty, he created the Virgin
from Virgin, right? Virgin Atlantic.
Exactly.
Okay.
He created the
nice
Virgin.
Grab.
Oh, it's amazing. Well, exactly. He created the Virgin Atlantic lounges.
Yeah,
for
which
10 years.
Cannot be understated. How
they're the best in the world at doing that.
And the one in Heathrow was 10 years ago.
Oh yeah.
Before anyone was thinking about before Google Workplaces existed.
Like, I don't get to airport lounges.
You are losing.
I sit with.
You need to change.
I sit with the rest of the
poor sod. I'm going to just ignore you for that.
It must be one of the first examples of corporates making something a public design and really thinking about how people interact.
Oh, it was incredible. I mean, incredibly visionary. And what it did, which is really fascinating, is it basically made you look at Virgin Atlantic as if they were bigger than British Airways, and they had like 6 planes or something stupid. More importantly, it changed the way that people acted. So rather than get to the airport at the last second, and there's a logic to this, get to the airport at the last second, rush through security, bags is laid, all that crap, Virgin managed to get it so that their passengers were on board early. So their passengers were sat in the lounge happily waiting. In fact, in some places, you're paying to be in there, and therefore their planes were filling up quicker, and therefore they could actually get off on time. So there's lots of interesting things that they did that became benefits that you wouldn't necessarily assume. But the other thing is it's fundamentally a sort of a marketing proposition for them. So it's really about how do you make customers happy? And that's what's amazing. So we got Steve, who came in from that side of things. And then we headhunted a guy called Grant Powell. So Grant is from 5-star hotels. So again, I don't know, because I've not done this exercise, but I think if you go to any co-working space and talk to their management team, they won't be from the hospitality industry, ever. They may be from the tech industry.
Tech guys.
They may be from they might even be from the sort of office industry, but they're not from the hospitality industry. And I think that in putting the team together, the secret sauce, although I'm giving it away now, the secret sauce is definitely that we see ourselves as a hospitality business. Our team are hospitality people. We won Service Business of the Year last year, because we are a service business. And so when you look at this problem through that lens, you get a completely different answer to if you look through the problem of how do you give people who need cheap desks, or how do you find a room in which you can put some people who you can take equity in, or whatever else people are thinking to create the business models that they create. We said, how do you create the best service to help someone grow their business? It's a different question. So to the sort of Minority Report piece, we've got a training manual. It's how do you deliver continuously good service? So we've created, we spent a lot of money, like £50,000 creating this thing. It's a lot of IP, a lot of time, a lot of love on creating the manual to take someone who is not even necessarily having been to university. You don't have to have been to university. Anyone who's in the hospitality industry could and should come and work for us, because we create a really loving culture where we can transfer that love from you to the member, but we don't have to employ people who are specialists in stuff. They have to be specialists in looking after people. And then this manual takes you on a journey from being unaware of how to help people solve, I need a new employee, I need an HTML programmer, I need to find some investors, because they're quite specific things that most people wouldn't know how to do. But the manual lets you and shows you how you can help those people without that knowledge. And most of it is about, there's a guy called Kevin Ayres who set up LinkedIn in Europe. So Kevin said, Central Working is like LinkedIn, but in the real world, because that's exactly what we do, except LinkedIn, to be honest with you, is a bit shit. I don't know.
Jesus, that's a strong statement.
It doesn't do anything there, does it?
James isn't worried about making any enemies. Oh, LinkedIn.
It doesn't do anything, does it?
We were going to go for them for sponsorship. No,
but what does it do?
It's becoming...
It's doing something, isn't it?
It's not.
It's becoming more of an actual information service,
what it does.
isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's more of
a media company now. It really is tempting you with
or
a
like
lot
a
of
black
these.
book almost for you.
Yeah, but it is, but it's not a useful black book.
Well, because there's too many people.
There's too many people, and also there's no tools to guide you.
Right.
That I can work out anyway. So
Sherry Cotu would say differently. An advisor to the board that was here recently. But
really?
I'm finding it more and more useful, the LinkedIn. But you were saying your place is for LinkedIn in the real world.
Imagine if LinkedIn worked.
Would you point would you point people in the direction of HTML programs or
Absolutely. Okay. So every single day, and there's a lovely little, I'll quote to you, a lovely little tweet that we got the other day. I took a photograph of it. It was so beautiful. It brought a tear to the eye. So basically, a company called Caribou. So Caribou, I don't even know them.
No.
They've been basically in Microsoft Ventures have been looking after them for the last 3 months. They've been fast tracking them. And those guys have created an amazing technology, which is an iPad technology that allows you to read to your child remotely. So you've got a young kid, probably under 10, at home in London, you're away on business in New York, they can see you, you can see them, and you can literally page turn Pippa Pig with them and show them the words and point out the noises. It's a lovely human tool. Anyway, so this is the quote they said. It says, needed an intro to a specific person in a huge corporation who pulls through Central Working, of course, killing it as usual. And that was their sort of spontaneous tweet. And what it was is we put them in touch with the head of the army. So if there's going to be a way to get that product out to an audience that would love that product, it would be the army. So we made that introduction for them. And that's the sort of stuff that we do. And the reason we're able to do it, if you think about generally service businesses, like your bank, they may know your last name, but possibly not. They probably don't have a clue what you do for a living. And they definitely, I mean, they don't know about this. It's unlikely, it's possible. They don't understand what this is. If you go to your accountancy firm, they probably know that you do this, but they don't really know what it means or how it works, so they couldn't really help you with anything necessarily. If you go to your local coffee shop, actually, they probably know your name. And that's most service businesses in Britain. Hotels, you go there every week and they'd get to know your name. Again, they possibly wouldn't know what you did still. They'd know that maybe the name of the company that paid the bill, but what that did, they wouldn't have a clue or care about. And so you've got this really strange thing where most service businesses have a very low level of understanding of their customer base. Our service proposition is about knowing your name. Brilliant. We're already on par with your coffee shop, knowing what you do for a living. And at that point, we're sort of stepping in front of nearly everyone, and then knowing what your problem is today. And at that point, we've blown everyone else out of the water. There isn't a service business that you can think of, really, that knows those three things about you. And we know that about our members. And then we help them with that third piece, and with the second piece, and with the first piece. Because it's actually nice when you go into your coffee shop and they say, hello, how are you doing, James? I love that. There's a huge value on that. And actually, again, most businesses don't even understand how valuable knowing someone is. And it's not because we've got, but it's not because we've got systems where you walk in and it's like, hello, James, how are you doing? Are you
That's
okay?
because you really know.
Because you fucking know their names.
This is like the age of the nuanced business model. Like, I didn't expect you to come in here and tell me this today, but it's like these businesses where it's like, okay, we specialize in this, and that's why we're so good at it. And you look at all of the things online, and you know why Instagram of this, because they specialize in this, and they've got 15 people making this work only.
And it's amazing, Instagram.
So out of curiosity, how much more expensive is it for all that personal touch and service?
So not a lot, to be honest with you. So basically, if you go down Bonhill Street, just over there, we were in campus, you're right. So we've actually got Bloomsbury, we've got Bonhill Street next door to campus, and we sort of helped Google set up campus.
Right. Easy said that you you built
so
the space or set
we
the
sort
space
of
up?
we consulted with them before it opened, and then we helped set it up for the first 2 years basically, and then our contract finished with them in March. And we've now got Whitechapel, but we have a space here, and there is a brick separating us from what some people would consider a competitor to us. And we have a 60% price premium over that competitor.
This is Google.
No, this is it's not Google.
Someone next to you. Okay, gotcha. All right.
But what's interesting is
60%
price premium versus the person that's a brick away.
Sure.
So that, to me, says that we're doing something right, because we shouldn't be able to do that if we're not doing something right. We also have really, really great retention, because the thing is, if you walk into a room with some desks, which is all we really sort of have, all of any of us have, that doesn't do anything. You can have nice desks, you can have a nice room, but it's still a room with some desks. But when you've been there for a bit, and like Caribou, you see that the value of that one contact will change their business. That's worth more than, I mean, what are you talking about? 300 quid a month? I mean, it's bugger all, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? It's a joke, because you're going to have to buy an office anyway. It's not as if we're selling something that you're not going to have to pay for anyway.
Right. I know. I see where the premium comes from. And now you're a startup. How do you scale that? I mean, we've all been looking at London property. Yeah. I can't believe you found this space in Whitechapel, because you go down to Whitechapel and I mean, there's like 40-story high rises in Whitechapel now, going for £1 million, you know, 2-bedroom. It's insane. So you know how it's hard to find space in London in general, right?
Totally.
And you know, I don't even know if you have the bandwidth now for 10 properties. Maybe you do.
We are.
But
we do.
You do. Okay. So how do you scale?
So
I think, is that the prime idea?
Well, there's two things. There's two things about that, I suppose. The first is our model has a number of benefits compared to the traditional models in terms of the way that we engage with our customer base, in terms of how they use the space, in terms of how we design the spaces. That means that we can get a great yield per square foot. And again, that's what's nice about the model. It is a business, so we can actually go to a property that's got a £40 a square foot, £50 a square foot rent, which again I don't think most of our competitors could, because they just couldn't get the return on it, and take that space, do what we do to it, so spend another £1 million or so on it, and get a great return, because the product stacks up at the bottom, at the end. We've got a lovely model that looks at helping someone when they're first starting out. I mean, for £100 a month, we will give you the exact same love and attention as someone who's permanently with us. We don't say, oh, well, you're only paying £100 a month, you get 6 introductions. You're paying more, you get 7. We don't do that bullshit. It's like, if you need us, we will help you. And we don't care. If you ask me for something every single day and you pay £100 a month, we'll help you every single day. Every single day. The reality is people don't ask for something every day. The reality is that basically we're putting systems in place and got systems in place to help them help each other. And I think that's the other thing we do. You scale it through a few things. One is have a model that can afford to pay London property prices, because otherwise what's the point? 2 is to have an incredible training manual. And the secret thing about the training manual is, that I'll share today, is there's a lady who lives in this country. She has a number of large properties. And often wears a hat. Basically, that lady had her household come and see us, and her household have taken away our training manual and are looking at some of the things that we're doing to potentially incorporate it into how they train some of their team.
That's your IP now.
Yeah, that's our IP. So the fact that someone who's very well looked after thinks, and their team think that we have something special enough that they want to take it and implement it back in her houses, means that there is some secret sauce there, something special. So that we've created a pack that can mean that we can train people in about 8 weeks. So that's highly scalable. And as I said, we can bring someone from any service background and take them through that training and get them there. And then finally, this is going to sound a bit wrong. It's Al-Qaeda in a good way, in that each one's a cell.
That's a quote.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a quote of the episode. Okay.
Oh, and here's the clip. Al-Qaeda in a good way.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Boom. Yeah, well-funded,
Layfield,
stealthy.
CEO.
Former CEO. Yeah.
But it's cell-orientated. Anything that's cell-orientated, it can survive and thrive more easily than if you have a massive system in place where everyone has to report up. So each unit runs as a cell. And the cell is capable of helping people in the same way on its own and making those decisions on its own without having to check back to me with my screens in my bedroom about should they help this person or not. They just get on with it.
Well, you have multiple cells within the Whitechapel property?
So in that one, there'll be a lead manager, and they've got 3 team members working for them. They just go for it. But what I'm saying is they don't have to report back to head office to sort of get this stuff happening. They're able to talk amongst themselves and run as autonomous units.
Okay.
And so we run each site as a profit center, as an autonomous unit. And so you can see straight away if a site's working or not.
Let's talk London real estate, and let's talk London in general. I mean, Shoreditch is changing as we speak. I know you were giving Old Street no love earlier, and that's okay. but the tube station has like transformed in front of my eyes. I was telling someone the other day, I mean, it used to be literally junkies hanging out there. You know, nothing wrong with that. But now it's like the Tate Modern, pop-up stores, juices. The whole thing's got a brand new look. Yep. It's like changing in front of our eyes. You know, Whitechapel is blowing up.
Absolutely.
Is the future going to be in London? Does it not have to be in London? So many guests that we have on Silicon Reel say it's about population density. It's about getting 3 people in a room with some beers, and that creates companies. It's not about them being on Skype and all this stuff. So is the future of your company going to be in London, or can it be in Manchester? Can it be somewhere else?
I think, being brutally honest, it can be in any city where there is insanely high population density, because you need a few factors for this model, we believe, to work. You need high property prices. High property prices is a good thing for our model.
Okay.
Because high property prices and old-fashioned leases. Because basically, if you're a high growth startup, it doesn't matter if you're Twitter or if you're a newbie that's just started yesterday, you don't want to sign a 5-year lease on a property because you know that you will grow out of that property instantly. Like Twitter have had to take an extra 16,000 square feet that they don't need because they will need it because the model's so flawed.
For me as a start, when I was looking for space, you're either going to go bankrupt within 5 years or you're going to, grow X percentage of time. So you're going to grow out of the space. You're going to be out of the space at some point or another.
So you need that flexibility. And also there are times when you need to just suddenly ramp up. We've got a client now, they want 30 more people overnight for 3 months. You can't do that in a traditional leasing model. So you need a hot market where where it's tricky to get property. You can go to Manchester, you can get property for free. You can go to Hull, you can probably get paid to take property. I mean, that's the thing. The reality is, and this is not derogatory about Britain, it's a reality of the economy, and it's a reality of the real estate market. In London, property is in high demand and it is of high value and is increasing. And so you're always going to be in a position where it's tricky as an SME to get a really great, useful solution to that problem.
So high property values help you in your business model.
Help us, but also I think we help then in turn those guys have some flexibility they couldn't otherwise get. So again, I don't know if hopefully you have never done this, but if you try and get British Telecom to give you the internet that you're paying them to do, so you pay them for a survey, you pay them to install it, and you pay them every month, that takes between 3 months and 6 months to just plug in a cable. I mean, that sort of crap you don't want to have to deal with. That's insane. I mean, there are so many stupid things that you don't need to worry about that we worry about for you, from how to get the internet on and working and decent through to leases and the covenants and all that crap. Okay. We just take away the pain.
So you're not moving out of London. London's going to be the spot for the next 5 years. There's always going to be things happening here, regardless of the real estate prices going up, regardless of it being hard to find spaces.
I think the thing about the hard to find spaces thing, I think, is a curious viewpoint. I think there's potentially a culture that has come about, which is again, I think it plays to the co-working concept, which is, why should we pay for space? And that mentality has driven the idea that you basically, that component is of low value, but it's obviously not of low value, hence the fact it's now expensive and you can't get it. And so you found for the last few years, people doing crazily good deals just to get some people occupying and paying their rent, paying their rates, basically, because they didn't want to have dead rates bills. Now the market's changed, everyone's complaining that they're going to have to pay for property. But again, that's not weird. If you go to any industry, it's weird if you don't pay. If you go to an advertising agency, they pay rent and rates and service charge for the building. Everyone does. It's just that lots of the tech startups for some of them have a viewpoint that it shouldn't cost that much money.
No,
but
that
the
makes
fact
sense.
But it does. And it doesn't. I mean, I suppose that's the nice thing. We can make that pain go away like that and make it so easy.
I wonder if you could tell us a couple secrets. We know that like places like Google, they have these elaborately designed workspaces that like maximize all of their intellectual property, meaning the people, and get everybody working together. Whether it's the food over here and the ping pong table over here and all this stuff. You've been doing this for a couple of years now. I'm wondering, what have you found, as much as you can tell us? What is some of those secrets that you've found that get people kind of working together or get things easy? You said you design your own furniture. I mean, is it like down to color schemes and this kind of thing that keep people, not only because you want people interacting, that ultimately makes you successful, right?
Yeah,
what are the tricks?
Well, I think the thing that's interesting is, so for example, again, if you look at sort of a Google proposition, and they didn't do it too much here, which is really nice. It's not about gimmicks. So I think what you find is lots of architects and lots of big companies will create the office of the future. And what that means is just sticking out the bullshit and colours and slides and, oh my God, we've got a slide in the, and we hate that stuff.
Okay.
Because no one fucking uses it. People don't really want, who wants a slide?
Tell
really?
that to Moshi Monsters.
But the thing is, people love the photo. There's a photo of like, the office. And it's sort of that photo is why they all do this crap. I get it.
It's true.
But it doesn't really make it working there better. It's just a gimmick.
Okay.
So what we've tried to do is cut all the shit and just focus on what really makes working better. And some of this stuff is so prosaic as to be ridiculous. But if you go to most office environments, there are not enough plugs. How simple is that to fix? Well, the reason people don't do it is because it's expensive. Each plug is expensive. So people do put one per desk. We do shitloads of plugs. So one of our simple innovations is every table has got 4 plugs per person, which, well, of course it has. But honestly, if you go to most offices, that isn't true. That just isn't the case. So give them loads of power is one of the things. Secondly, again, most desks are designed. I mean, look, this is a fucking huge desk. It's unnecessarily large.
It is unnecessarily large.
And it's made
a reflection of my ego.
It's beautiful, but it's made of very poor quality materials, I would say as well.
It is.
So
Is it
what
IKEA?
No, it's not IKEA.
No, it's not.
It doesn't feel like IKEA
We need
to me.
James to come in here.
We could free model this for you. But what's interesting is, a lot of the furniture you see in the market is built for an old-fashioned world where people did have drawers under desks with stuff in, instead of a cloud-based storage facility. They used to have lots of wires and things coming out that were connected to printers, and just stuff that nowadays you sort of don't do, and that's only really changed recently. Right. And so the sort of manufacturers of furniture haven't really caught up with that yet. They are catching up, but they haven't. So we went out and basically created furniture that enabled people to work on laptops, enabled people to work with big screens and multiple screens, enable you to have rigs that you can clamp onto the desk so you can have your multiple screens if you're, say, a gaming developer. Created footprints and formats that were super flexible, so we can reconfigure our spaces so effortlessly. If you're 4 today and 8 tomorrow, we can cope with that very, very easily, because all of our stuff is very modular. It plugs into each other. It's a bit like Lego. It's just easy to run, easy to use. And then in terms of sort of the colours and things, I mean, again, I suppose we try and have a fairly sort of flamboyant but natural look. So we're using lots of natural materials. It feels very comfortable. We spend most of our time and effort on the chair. I mean, you're going to be spending shitloads of time on that chair. And again, if you go around lots of the sort of co-working spaces, you'll find this bit is cheap. But that's the important bit. If you're sat on it all day, don't skimp on this thing. Equally, the lighting, getting the lighting levels right. I mean, it's boring stuff, but it's the lighting, it's the power, it's the data, it's the reconfigurability, stuff that you won't notice is the stuff that's special. And there's loads of, I mean, just silly things. I'm just trying to think of the good, best silly examples. But things, the gimmicky meeting room thing, we do a bit of, and people seem to quite like that. Because they like to say, oh, I'm having a meeting room in the love room. And that works, it's fun. But the gimmicky stuff, apart from that, we don't bother with. I mean, things like storage. Most people these days don't need much storage. So we just do these little lockers, it works fine. Rather than having to put in huge amounts of storage space and cupboards, which a lot of people would have done or could have done, it'd be a waste. And then that's sort of it, really. Simple things.
No, that's fine. Talk to me about America.
Yes.
Are you going there?
Yes.
And when you visit there, when you go to the valley, when you go to the alley, do you see the working spaces and things that they're doing better?
Oh my God.
Or worse?
Miles better.
Okay.
Miles better.
Really?
I mean, yeah, they are
Also,
fucking awesome. So basically,
So primarily New York.
New York, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, what you've got, again, New York, you've got this amazingly insane real estate market. It's so expensive. It's so ridiculous. It's so bizarre. It's exciting.
Is it worse than here?
Yeah, it's worse than here. Way worse than here.
Is it?
Yeah,
Really?
it's you can sell someone a spike over there for $1,000 a month and they will sit on that spike. I've seen some of the shittiest offices in the world in New York, and people go, oh my God, this, and it's like tiny little thing. This place, this is just $3,000 a month. It's fucking amazing. And look, I can get inside the office. And you're like, you are kidding me. You are kidding me. And look, you've only got one beggar you've got to kick to get in. It's insane. It's insane. And the lift doesn't work. Yeah, it doesn't work, but it doesn't matter. We're only on the 5th floor. And honestly, it's insane. So the market is
what impresses
crackers.
You about that?
Not that, obviously.
Yeah.
But what impressed me was, I mean, everyone's heard of, hopefully, WeWork. I mean, they come into London at some point. They have taken someone like a Regis.
WeWork.
Yeah.
Okay.
And just nailed it.
And
what they don't do, which is what I think is quite exciting, which is why I think we're going to survive, is they don't do service very well. They're atrocious. They don't have a level of service. And what they're really selling, which is great, are beautiful glass boxes. So if you want to work in a tiny box and pay a shitload of money for it, they have an amazing product, and it's very cool.
That's kind of what Regis does too, though, right?
Yeah, but they just do
offices.
that's almost like if you want to pay a lot of money and sit in a horrible box, that's what Regis do. These do a beautiful box.
Better box.
A nice box.
Nice
A
box.
very sexy box. And if you go and see their places, you'll love it. It's super cool.
In New York, you're saying?
New York, San Fran, all of those. So WeWork, awesome product. Check it out. Lovely. They're coming to London. They're expensive, but they're sexy. And then there's something called Neuhaus. Rubbish name. I can barely spell it, but it's the only other company I've found in the world that has also been set up by people from the hotel industry.
Right. Okay.
And so they understand service. They understand service. And I would say Neuhaus is a bit like a sort of, if you could work at Soho House, I know you can, but you can't really because you can't use your phone, which is a bit stupid. But if you could actually work at Soho House, That's sort of what a Neuhaus is.
Okay.
And then you've got, what else you got? There's a couple more. But anyway, they're the two that I think they've got something right, and they can scale that business, and it'll grow, and they'll come to this market. I mean, Neuhaus looking already here. WeWork will open hopefully September, October time. They'll change the market, and I think there'll be a nice little shake-up that'll, again, it'll be good for people who've got a good business.
Are you going to America?
We are looking at New York.
Okay.
Yeah, we've been looking at New York for a while. I did a trip to New York.
Is that necessary for your business model? Do you have to be
It
there?
depends how you look at it. I mean, I have a very old-fashioned view, which is great brands are created out of America. And that might sound like a horrible thing to say, but there aren't many great brands, big global brands, that are created from Britain. There are a few, BP, there's some that you think, wow, yeah, they're up there. But they're mostly not created from here, because we, as an island nation, seem happy to just look after our island. And basically, there's a chap called Mark who runs Regis. So he started Regis when it was one unit. And he's taken it, and he's British, he's taken it, and it's a British company, from one unit to a £1.7 billion company. Again, I bet there's hardly any people in Britain that can say they've done that. It's an amazing thing to have done. So he sat with us and said, this should be 1,000 sites. And I thought that was fascinating, because I don't think another British person could have looked us in the eye and said something as insanely audacious as that. I mean, that's a £1 billion company.
Right.
I mean, and so when he said that, I sort of thought, oh, hello, we've got something here, lads. This might be a winner. But it made me realise there's a potential. But it also made me realise that to realise that potential, you need to go where the money is, where the ambition is, where the balls are. And despite what everyone says, we have not yet created the conditions in this country to easily, and it's all relative, push out a brand. So WeWork are going to hit London. They're backed with, they've got £30 million just to spend on doing their initial launch. 30 million. None of the competitors in this country have got anything like that sort of money. Not even close to that sort of money.
Where do you guys get the money to finance yourselves?
So we've done partnerships. So, for example, partnering with people like Barclays.
Okay.
Where we were sort of in a commercial relationship with them. We have angel investment. Okay. And we are looking, like you, at fundraising. And it is one of those things, I think, finding partners who get how quick you have to move is less likely to happen in Britain than it will happen in the US. And so I think if you're trying to scale a business like this, I mean, Starbucks is about 10 times bigger than Costa. It's not like a little bit bigger. It's miles bigger. McDonald's.
Yeah, Americans are used to scaling.
It's
They
how
have a
you
huge
nail it.
population.
Absolutely. So I think
the countries have been all about scaling, moving
completely
west, and
And so I think the only way for us to create a massive global brand, if that's what we want to do, and we'd love to do that, would be to go to America, because the people who are there can help us do it.
And you guys are talking about Dubai, Moscow, Warsaw, Singapore. Obviously, you dropped in Manchester. Those other cities, how important are those? Are those?
This model works in any city, any major city, any capital, any sort of second, third, fourth city. I mean, the weird thing is in Britain, we sort of haven't really got that. We've got London and then Britain.
Right.
But in lots of other countries, you've got other major cities within that are dominant in something. So in lots of other places, that will be the case. So this is something that I think, you could and should, and it will at some point go into those cities. But again, it's fairly logical to say, okay, nail London, prove the model, pick up model, take it to America, New York, and just roll it across America. And then having done America, come back to do the rest of it.
What about Berlin? That seems obvious.
Yeah, but the real estate's cheap there.
Okay, and that doesn't necessarily help you. You probably thrive in a place where it's expensive. You need it's not that we thrive, to provide a solution.
Well, exactly. It's like why? We'll probably go to Manchester. But if you go to Manchester, if you can for free sit here,
right.
Why would you pay me money? Because also the thing you will not be able to understand is the value we add. The value we added to Caribou wasn't about desks, but how the hell, when you come in, do I actually demonstrate that to you? It's hard. In London, it's easier, but it's hard. So I think outside of London, you're looking just at, well, this costs something, this doesn't cost something. I'll take this one, thank you very much.
Right. It's a basic fundamental thing that comes back on the show all the time. Solve a problem, right?
Totally.
Right. Are you worried as you scale, you won't be able to help Caribous of the world?
Well, that's why we've spent, as I said, like 50 grand investing in this.
It's all
methodology.
about that.
It's all about
sounds
that.
like
if you get hold of that, honestly, when you open it, light comes out in your face.
Exactly.
It's a bit like this.
We need a tour. We need a tour.
Yeah.
You do,
Yeah.
But yeah, no, there's something that is the secret sauce, and because again, we've started again. Hopefully, I think differently to lots of people. We designed Central Working to scale. It was designed from the first second we did it to scale. So for the first 2 sites, we didn't make money, and we never would make money because it wasn't designed to have 2 sites. It was designed to have 50, 60 sites. So it needs that scaling, and so because of that, it has systems that scale. It has a brand that will scale. It has training manuals that will scale. It's got the stuff that you'd have in a business a lot bigger, so that it can be the business that it wants to be that's a lot bigger.
When's the Central Working LinkedIn coming along?
Yeah, that's an interesting one, isn't it? So again, we've been working on stuff like that. So we've got something cunningly called Project C. And that's...
Okay.
We won't be called Ultimate, but that's what it's currently called. And it's a bit rudimentary right now.
Sure.
And I think it's also one of those challenges, sort of your sort of Instagram point, it's like, how do you get really good at doing one thing well? Because if you go into that, there's a danger that you end up as a tech business. Is that a bad thing? Maybe not. But then the real estate becomes a secondary point. So I think there's an interesting balance there. Finding a tech platform that doesn't become the whole business, right. I don't think, because I don't think that's what I want to do. And also not putting in place a digital barrier. We want to be human. The people crave being together. People crave that human contact. And so part of our role is to provide that human contact. And if we're too clever with our technology, and this isn't some sort of clever explanation so we don't have to spend our money on it. If you're too clever with technology, you become a bit automated. And when you become a bit automated, your service level plummets. Because you just think, when you used to, years ago, go into a bank, when they had decentralized branches, they actually could look after you in a branch. Now, because of technology, they can't. And you end up on a call center or you end up on a website. The service level is actually plummeted with most banks. It's not better, it's worse.
Right, so you got to watch for it. What made you what you are. Just a few more questions. What do you think of tech in London? You know, you've seen it the last 2 years. It's obviously getting bigger. Our show has started.
Exactly, for God's sake, this is it.
Yeah, right? I mean, that's a sign. You got incubators everywhere. I'm going to ask you later, we don't have a chance about over-incubation, but like everyone's starting an incubator. You know, where are we going here with London tech? And what do we need to avoid? Or what do we need to do better? I mean, you're on the ground. You see what's going on.
So basically, whenever we started thinking about Central Working 5 years ago, so we did 2 years of planning before we started. And back then, London as a tech centre was nothing, really. It was, but it wasn't seen as one. And when we first started 3 years ago, it sort of the idea of London as a tech centre was almost a bit of a joke, a little bit. And then when Google Campus launched, that was like, oh my God, it's cool, Google's done something in London, woohoo. I think it's actually true. I think London is now what it wanted to be. And it will only get better. And I think have you met Prue? No. You've got to meet Prue.
Ashby?
Yeah. So Prue from London Partners, get her on the show. She's awesome.
Okay.
But she said something to me a long, long time ago, and it was a great pitch that London Partners had come up with, who promote London around the world, for London. And she said, if you were in another country like America, if you want to talk to sort of the advertising, marketing bit of that industry, you end up going to probably like New York or Hollywood. If you want to go talk to the money part of it, you end up going to San Francisco. So actually, you end up having to shoot thousands of miles to find this specialist in an industry across that country. Here, you can jump on a Boris bike, and you can be with some of the most creative people in the world, like Framestore in Soho, and 15 minutes later, be with some of the top banks in the world, and 15 minutes later, be with some of the top PR agencies in the world. And it's quite a unique set of circumstances. So I was not cynical, but skeptical. And I think now I really see, because I was thinking, fuck London, let's get to New York ages ago. And now I'm thinking, this is amazing. There is something very, very, very special here. And if the politicians don't fuck it up, because that's the danger, isn't it? That as a sort of stupid gesture, Labour comes in and just changes stuff that the Conservatives did just to change stuff. If they don't fuck it up, there is a real chance that this can be an incredible tech centre, I think. It's amazing.
How could they fuck it up, do you think? Take away the tax incentives?
You could change the tax incentive schemes, of course. if anything, that still needs loosening to get the money flowing. You could reduce the emphasis on technology. I mean, you could just do some stupid policies that look, or you could make it harder for people to come into the country. I mean, that alone will be the most fucking stupid thing anyone can do.
Right. Yeah. It could be happening.
It's insane that could happen. And the challenge, I suppose, is that the man in the street doesn't appreciate the difference between one type of person coming to the UK and another type of person. Should there be a difference? Who knows? But if you are... I had this bizarre experience. One of the top execs from Google left Google to do their own startup and couldn't get a fucking visa. And it's like, we should be biting their hands off to keep this person. Yeah, they can't.
Unfortunately, the Yanks aren't the best example either, but they're working on it.
No. Ironically, she went to New York, but she was American.
There you go. A couple more questions. Will you ever take a small equity stake in companies? I mean, come on, 1-2%. I mean, is that ever part of your business model? Do you think it'll ever happen?
I think what that does is it changes how you look after your customers. What we've tried to do is say and believe and imbue in everything we do the idea that you're as good as you are. You're as special as you are. So that filters through everything we do. So lots of places, lots of clubs, which we see ourselves as, would say, well, actually, he's an awesome journalist. You can have free membership, mate. And you're just some scummy startup, you can pay. And we don't do that. We don't do that. Everyone pays. And what that means is that everyone is equal and everyone gets the same service. If, however, I think, actually, this guy's got something really awesome, which by definition means that you haven't got something really awesome. I then take a bit of equity in his business, but then I'm going to help him more than I'm going to help you. Because I care more about him succeeding than I help. And it will fuck our model completely if we did that. Because it means that you can't love your customers as a customer base. You will focus on the ones that you'll get the most return from. And that changes our business to be something that it's not.
That's a good answer. I like that. Yeah. I do feel this hospitality vibe going on here. And
good.
It's something I didn't think about when I thought about Central Working.
No, me neither, actually. And I'm a Soho House guy, and so I work out of there every now and again. And Shoreditch has created a really cool environment now. And they have some desks and all that sort of stuff, but and I've been to a lot of your Central Workings, and it's been I see a huge opportunity in taking the co-working and then some of the club type stuff and sort of meshing them together and trying to create an environment where people can spend their days.
Yeah, we want to tour. James, we always ask everyone here a few questions at the end. You probably know these are coming. Hopefully you didn't prepare for them, but that's okay. If you could make a phone call to the 20-year-old James Layfield and give that young man a bit of advice, I don't know where he was, but what would you tell him if you could
have sex sooner?
Jesus.
Have you not had sex when you were 20?
I was 21. Can you believe that?
21.
Fantastic. That lame.
Wow.
It was like an explosion.
There we go.
The poor one was destroyed. So that's what I would say to him. What else?
Have sex sooner. That's the first one, I think. That's the first
time we heard that. Were you at all involved in technology whatsoever? Did you see it coming?
God. I was a geek at school, not surprised. Hence my not having sex, I suppose. I was an uber geek.
Okay.
I was illegally pirating computer games and selling them. I was importing them from... For some reason, Amsterdam was the home of hacking computer games when I was a kid. Yeah, so they used to get cracked in Amsterdam. I'd get my discs through. I had an array of disk drives. And I would just be copying... Do not arrest me. I'd be copying, selling, copying. Exactly. Games and selling them in the playground as a kid. So I was probably underage. But so I was into computer graphics. I used to draw and design. I thought that I would end up in that world because I was obsessed with it. And I think I can be sort of quite an obsessive personality. So I got so obsessed with it, I realized that I could spend my life inside the computer and not really enjoy life in the real world, if this is indeed the real world. And so
talk about that on Monday.
and so I opted out. I mean, and then I did come back to it. So when I was at Virgin, we did the sort of pretty much. I like to think it was Facebook. It was pretty much Facebook, years before Facebook. It was called virginstudent.com. So I did try my hand at doing a .com, and it was fun. But I love, like you were saying, I love that tangibility, to go into a room and touch stuff that makes someone's life better, and to have a conversation. Because I get off on talking to people. I like talking to my members, and I don't see them as customers paying me money. They're people that I really like, and there's nothing nicer. And I'm sure this is what you do. It's so nice to meet people, to talk to people, to hear their ideas, to feel that energy, and that That's why we started this business, because that energy that you feel in the room, and if you come in, you get it in Soho House as well, that buzz, it's fucking awesome.
Right. And
it's like a drug.
It's weird, interesting, because you're in the tech sector, and, you know, let's be honest, techies are naturally on the introverted side. I mean, look at your history. And so in a weird, way,
oh, ouch.
You know, in a weird way, you kind of have to push them to get talking, but that's how great the companies are made, by getting them out of their shell. Don't do the virtual meeting.
And make it comfortable for them.
Right.
Make it so comfortable. And it's so lovely. You see sometimes a member will join and they start off so quiet. And part of the skill of our team is to let them flourish and let them be themselves and feel comfortable and help them to engage. And not that they're necessarily socially inadequate at doing that, but you're right, there are some people that aren't super flamboyant, and therefore we can help them make those connections, and we can make this. And what you see is, after a few months, they've got a load of new friends that they would never have had in an office, because these people care about each other's businesses. That's, to be honest with you, the criteria to join Central Working was twofold, which is you have to be passionate about what you do, or you cannot join. So again, it's probably, we won't let you join if you're not passionate about what you do.
So you will screen people.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we'll get rid of people. And you have to be open to collaboration. And so if you put that basic filter on, open to collaboration and passionate, you sort of attract a group of people who are open to collaboration and passionate. And so then you create a world where they want to play.
Okay. Second part of that question, what's the best advice you've ever received in your life? I hope it didn't happen at 21.
Or 20 and a half.
The best advice I've ever had.
Yeah. Business or personal?
Okay, hold on. Let me think. I'm sure there is some.
Well, maybe
I've got my memory's so rubbish. My memory's so. What's my best?
Or maybe in the past 2 years, something.
Or maybe in the last hour
that a client said, or that, you know, something you gleaned from working with.
I think this is it, and it's people say this a lot, and there's two. This is the one. So people say this a lot, and you don't always understand what they mean. When you are fundraising, I think most people get so pissed off about how hard it is that they reduce their barrier to entry. They sort of start off at almost, I want some money and some stuff, and then you end up at a place which is like, fucking give us some money, I don't really give a shit. And I think what I found is, and what's true is, and what someone said is, you don't ever want just money. You always want money plus, and the plus has to, I think, be some sort of expertise or guidance or support. Because what I found is, if you go for money's sake, all they want is return. And if all they want is return, they don't understand your business. And they don't care about your business. They just want money. And that constriction means that you probably won't grow. Whereas actually, if you have someone who looks at your business and says, here's all the amazing things we could do together, and here's some money, then they want to help you do those things. And that's the number one thing.
Yeah, I saw a tweet recently that said something like, before you take on a customer, is this someone you want to have a relationship with? Because you're going to have a relationship with them.
Exactly.
You know, whether it's a one-time Starbucks and come back forever, or whether it's you raising money. Yeah. I mean, these are good thoughts.
So when I raise cash, the valuation's one thing, but I'm thinking I can bring this down 10 to 20% discounted for a guy that's going to give me 20 to 30%.
100%.
Right? So
absolutely.
And so it's almost like evaluation is determined for me based upon who I'm pitching to.
Who you're talking to, yeah.
So.
Last part of that question, to the 20-year-old that's listening to us out there,
the virgin,
that might have
20-year-old virgin
been in your situation.
You poor man.
You never know where this is going to go, and it's live. What advice do you give to them? To the 20-year-old listening to around the world that wants to get into tech?
I suppose, I think the thing that people do, and it's probably a generic answer, but sorry if it is, but I think it's just a truism, is basically people procrastinate. And you get the person that's talking about their idea all the time. And I suppose what I found is, if you don't talk about your idea at all, you just do the fucking thing. It doesn't sort of start now. And when I say don't talk about it, back to Ben Southworth's point, I'm not saying don't share it once you've started. I'm just saying don't just talk about the idea of doing something. It's so funny, we had a guy come up to the other day, goes, oh my God, I thought about doing Central Working ages ago. I was like, yeah, but you didn't fucking do it, dickhead.
Right. Yeah.
So, but it's funny, isn't it? People imagine that they've come up with an idea just because they've thought of something. And actually, the energy you need to make it happen, the human brain is amazing that you always underestimate how fucking hard things are. So no one would be an entrepreneur if they knew how hard it is to be an entrepreneur, because it's a nightmare. You're always running out of money, you beg, borrowing and stealing, and most of it is not about making it, because most people don't make it. It's about the thrill of doing it. And it's hard work. But you've just got to start.
And less talking, more walking is what you're saying.
Absolutely.
You know, we had a guest on London Real. His name is Eric Thomas. He's called the hip hop preacher. He's really famous in America.
Sounds awesome.
Like a motivational speaker. Used to be a Southern Baptist teacher. And he says, say it once.
Yeah.
So tell all your friends once. Get it out there so they'll be accountable. And then shut the fuck up and then do it.
Completely agree.
And then
Completely
I understand
agree.
what he said.
Yeah.
You know. So
I meet people week in after week in telling me the same fucking story.
Exactly.
I'm like, just minimum viable product and shut the fuck up.
Exactly.
She's the grumpy old man buzzer's going.
Yes, 20-year-old.
Sorry.
There it is. James, it's been such a pleasure having you here. You're definitely more fun than your LinkedIn photo. Would suggest. So this is a lot of fun. And if you're listening, you know, this makes a lot of sense. If you're looking for space, it makes sense to spend the extra money, go the extra time to apply, to go into Central Working, as opposed to just X desk in Shoreditch, where you're going to get so much value that you can't quantify, that years down the line you'll be like, why didn't my business make it? It didn't make it because James wasn't there.
Exactly. And the team
with the army,
yeah,
and whoever else you know. So you know, it does make sense to just think about your space a little bit more, right?
Absolutely.
You know, I'm here in this studio and I have a lot of people coming through, but like I can value the success of what I'm doing, the deals I'm doing based on the meetings I have. So I mean, it's ultimately who you're in contact with in a physical way, which is hard to imagine in this.
It's all about the people.
It's all
exactly.
Yeah, what am I saying?
Hello, the strap line. Boom.
People can follow you on Twitter at Layfield, L-A-Y Field, at Central Working as well?
At Central Working is probably more active. I'm not that active on Twitter, sadly.
Okay.
I should be more active.
Do you have space in Whitechapel, for example, if people want to come? Or
basically, I challenge you. I challenge you to come down and not love it. If you don't love it, I'll buy you a coffee. I promise you, you're going to love it. It's fucking amazing.
Okay, and you have space. People can come and come.
We've only just opened. Okay. And, more importantly, everyone, we've got a launch party on the 18th of June. Epic event. Tickets are on Eventbrite. Get yourself a ticket. Go to our Facebook page, /Central Working. Apply for a ticket. Come and enjoy yourself.
This is at Whitechapel, yeah?
It's
probably going to be a crazy party.
All right, I'm in.
The elevator.
Good.
Yeah. Okay. We'll go. Fantastic. I love this. I love this whole business model. It gets me excited. So thanks so much for being here. You know, as we say, it's about the people here. We're on Twitter. We're on hello@siliconreal.com if you want to hit us up with some messages. We got a bunch of people that are helping out on the show coming into the studio tomorrow. We're talking about taking over the world, all this crazy stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, some people have helped out recently and, you know, become part of the team. We're trying to grow this thing. We're a startup too, right? Trying to figure out, you know, how to keep growing and get good guests.
We'd love to help
keep moving
with that.
So.
Fantastic. Love it. You know, maybe we should move the studio to Central Working.
There you go.
You could have a remote studio.
No, not a crazy idea, right?
No,
Not a crazy idea.
And if you have guest ideas, sounds like we need to get this woman in from London Partners and all that stuff, then hit us up on Twitter and come back to us. And there you go. If you listen to us on iTunes or on YouTube channel, give us a search. You can see our extremely good-looking faces. And until then, guys, it's about the people. James, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, guys, take care.
It's really difficult to try and explain the kind of reality of Bitcoin, which is just one giant document where every single transaction has been recorded.
This is the blockchain,
This is the blockchain, exactly.
It's hard to explain that to anyone.
Yeah, nobody listens to that. So you just talk about Bitcoins and you talk about the fact that there's 21 million of them at some point by the time they've all been mined. And you talk about the fact that they get mined by computers, but then, you know, you don't really explain the whole specific nature of what it is.
Because that hurt Bitcoin in the beginning. It was too much information, right?
For complete beginners, like how much do you know about this Federal Reserve or the UK Central Bank? How they do quantitative easing? That is what mining is.